What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Friday, I saw Ghostbusters. That would be the 2016 reboot of the 1984 original classic film Ghostbusters, which also happens to be a film that ended up on my top 10 favorite films of all time list. I absolutely love Ghostbusters. It's a classic. I'm a huge fan of it. And when I read about Sony Pictures actually considering the idea of a reboot, I was like, hell to the nah, are you serious? Why would they even consider that? Dan Aykroyd has been working on a script off and on for Ghostbusters 3 and trying to get the sequel off the ground for almost 10 years, maybe even 10 years or just a little bit over 10 years. And then suddenly Sony Pictures decides to slap him in the face by telling him that we don't like your ideas, we're just going to reboot it and start fresh. And just a few weeks or months after that announcement, the film got greenlit. How do you think Dan Aykroyd feels about that? I know I was really not having it, along with a lot of other fans, and I was expressing my discontent about it. I was nerd raging. I was very vocal about it. But you know what? At the end of the day, no matter how much I say and how much a lot of other fans talk about it in a negative way, that, you know, they hate the idea of a reboot, that film is coming. That film is coming, and I'm not gonna hate on it anymore, as in, like, I'm not gonna put any more energy into hating on it, because that's just too toxic for my life. And so I decided that, you know what, forget about it. Forget about it. It's happening no matter what, so all we can do is embrace it. And by embracing it, I mean accepting it, and actually, if you're, you know, really, if you do really feel compelled to do so, watch it. And that is what I did. I ended up watching it because I'm a Ghostbusters fan, and I'm out there to watch a Ghostbusters movie. And I'll tell you something, being a Ghostbusters fan, I'm not going to give you a biased review. Okay, even though I absolutely love Ghostbusters, I'm not going to give you a biased review. I'm going to review this movie as a film. I'm not going to review it as a reboot to Ghostbusters, okay? Because you just can't mess with a classic. That film will be awesome no matter how many years or how many decades or how many centuries. That will always remain a classic. It's a great film. So let me tell you, if the movie sucks, I'll tell you that it sucks, and I'll tell you not to watch it. Now, if I was legitimately entertained, and by entertained, I mean that I was entertained, engaged, and excited, then I'll tell you to go watch it. So here's my review. And, well, first of all, the film is directed by Paul Feig, who directed Spy. Absolutely love Spy. It was so funny. Such a hilarious action comedy. And it's an R-rated comedy, but Ghostbusters, of course, PG-13. So I just automatically assumed that they're going to bring his brand of humor into Ghostbusters. And they did. They got Melissa McCarthy, and they also got SNL alumni members Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, and also Kristen Wiig. And together, they actually work. Okay, now you notice, of course, these are female cast members, unlike the original, which was an all-male cast. So they're doing some different things. I'm not going to get into the whole politics of that, but I'll tell you that it actually works. They got some pretty good chemistry there, and the comedy is it's very different. It's very different when compared to the original, but I'll say that it works because not only because of the chemistry, but these actors are so good at portraying these characters because it's so natural for them. They are essentially playing extensions of same characters that they played before, and because of that, what they give us is actually very, very natural. I find it funny, and I find a lot of the characters in this movie very, very bizarre and kind of quirky, and I think the quirkiness is what makes those characters work. They have really, really silly personalities, and I don't understand why they're like that. These are really oddball human beings, but I think that part about these characters actually works. So I like that about the writing and the dialogue, and in some ways the humor feels kind of forced, but it doesn't. I say that it feels forced because it's so odd. But at the same time, it works because it's just like, well, that came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say that I enjoyed the comedy in this movie. It is really, really odd, but it does work. I guess that's what you get for PG-13 Paul Feig. After all, you know, a lot of his comedies are really R-rated, raunchy type of comedies, right? So, yeah, so that's his style of comedy, and I really enjoyed that. And as for the rest of the film, you know, it's a pretty simple premise. It's a story that I'm not even going to get into the whole plot hole aspect of it because that's really unnecessary. They do exist, but it's something that I don't think about too much because this film does not take itself seriously at all. I mean, even the original Ghostbusters does not take itself seriously. I mean, that was made during a more innocent time, but this is a film that really doesn't care. It wants to have fun with it. It is out there to entertain, and it's out there to give the fans what they want, and I think they do it with really well. There's a lot of classic surprises. There are a lot of surprises and Easter eggs in this film that'll pay tribute to the originals, so that was awesome. I mean, in a way, it's a lot of fan service. Fan service doesn't necessarily make a film good, but for me, a Ghostbusters fan, I felt that it really added a bit to it. But if you didn't get it, it won't bother you, okay? I mean, it really won't affect your enjoyment of the film, whether you got the Easter eggs or not. At the end of the day, this film was funny, and I found it really entertaining, and I actually enjoyed the visual effects of this film. It's definitely, I gotta say that it's very different from the original. Okay, I said I wasn't going to compare it to the original, but the original at its time was really awesome for the types of visual effects that it has, but I think that the visual effects in this film work. They're very cartoony looking. I'm talking about the ghosts. They're really cartoony looking, but it works just because for the tone of this film, for the lack of seriousness, it works. I feel that the way that ghosts look is very appropriate for this style of film. You don't want to make it look too scary, and you don't want to make it look too grotesque, but you don't also want to make it look too silly looking. I think they found something in between, and it works. And what I really enjoyed about this film was the ghost-busting gear. Okay? I'm talking about the proton packs, all the little gadgets they have, and something really cool about this film is that they combine a lot of like science into the mix, like actual science. I'm talking about quantum physics, stuff that we have absolutely no comprehension of. It's kind of like when Jessica Chastain in Interstellar was talking about all these like quantum physics equations. Kate McKinnon does the same thing, talking about all that stuff, and we just buy it because we're not quantum physics experts, but the fact that she explains it so well with such detail and with such believability, we believe it, okay? And so I actually really like that aspect of the film, that they bring science into a really quirky fictional film. It works. So that was great about it, but I love the ghost-busting aspects of this film. Very entertaining. I loved watching it in 3D when the proton packs, when they shot out the proton beams, it actually broke the frame, and by breaking the frame, you know how the film is in widescreen? Well, the ghosts and the proton lasers, they actually go beyond the frame, so it really gives you a very enhanced 3D feel. In fact, this is some of the best 3D I've ever seen in a live action film, and by live action film, I mean a film that's not entirely CG, like Avatar. So this is a really a great example of how to use 3D, and it totally works. I had a really fun time watching this film. This is a good film. I'm gonna say it right now. It was a good film. I was entertained. I legitimately found it funny. I don't really have much complaints about this film. It isn't an original idea, but at least they didn't take a complete carbon copy of this film and just update it. I mean, in some ways they did, but they made so many changes to it. They made so many updates to it. It just feels fresh. So there's only so many ways you can change it up, but I think they put in enough alterations that it feels like I'm watching a brand new movie. It feels like I don't know what's going to happen next. It feels like I am in for a lot of surprises, and which I was. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm going to give this film a 7.5 out of 10. It was thoroughly entertaining, and I would be bold enough to say that it's a film that I would like to own on Blu-ray so I could watch it again. Okay, so that's my review, 7.5 out of 10. I know it might be surprising to a lot of people. After all, I have been vocal about expressing my discontent about a reboot on this channel. I've said it many times that I don't like the idea of a reboot, but I ended up really liking this film, and this is my most honest review. Okay, so there you go, 7.5 out of 10, and you know, it's already been decided that a lot of haters don't want to watch this film. So, but for those that are open-minded and want to give it a chance, I say give it a chance. Go check it out and decide for yourself. I enjoyed it, even though I hated the idea of it, and I came out of the theater, wanting to clap and just telling people that that was a good movie. Okay, and in my opinion, it is. Okay, so there you have it. And if you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace. This has a lot to do with the director, Jean-Colette Serra, and his vision. He is a director who is used to directing Liam Neeson in films where he kicks a lot of ass.